Come on, everybody, get your stuff together. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da. 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 Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Bum-ba-da. Ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da ba da. This is a variety show with no particular niche, baby. It's always about hanging out. Maybe we'll laugh at some stuff, maybe we'll learn something new, but it's always about hanging out, me and you. Welcome to That Thing with James. I'm your host, James. Has it been 1 or 2 weeks? I do not know. Time, dude, a lot has happened, at least over the past week. And I will go into more salacious detail in the bonus episode. For the old heads, you know. For the new heads, maybe you don't know. Every week, well, except for occasionally when Mother's Day rolls around and I choose to be a good son at the sacrifice of this podcast. But usually I will put out one new bonus episode every damn week. And frankly, I might have recorded one last week, but I was busy recording something else. A mini series, a mini web series, which I will probably talk about in today's episode. I'm going to make this a short one because I'm getting a late start and I'm a bit peckish. But regardless, if you want some extra, That Thing with James, if you find some value and potential in the work I do, and if you just want to, help support an independent creator, save a pigeon, feed an artist, do please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. You will, in return, for just $5 for a whole fucking month, you will get 4 new bonus episodes and access to all previously recorded and released bonus episodes and whatever extra content I ever get around to feel and think of making in return for your support. So patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. That's patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. Show your support. And you can find a link to that in the description for this episode. And while I'm on the business end, you can find me on social media, mainly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. My handle on all 3 is at James J. Asher. That's at James, the letter J, and Asher, at James J. Asher. You can also post shitposts. I love shitposts on my subreddit, r/thatthingwithjames. And I give to you an open invitation. I would love to have your hand in helping guide this ship. I missed a DM from a friend on Facebook recently, and well, I've been fucking busy as hell recently, so I didn't get around to reading it. But if you have an idea for some content for the show, I'm talking just a topic, ideas, questions, if you're in search of advice, if you have like an article or a video or a meme or something, you can email me your suggestions. I prefer you please email them to me. Don't DM me. I'm getting over my thing about DMs that I've developed over the last year where I just kind of avoid reading them for reasons I won't get into. Email me at thatthingwithjames@gmail.com. That is ThatThingWithJames@gmail.com. Once again, all of this information you can find written in the episode description. So, yes, has it been 1 or 2 weeks? I don't remember. It feels like it's been a month or so since I last recorded this podcast. I am currently recording on Sunday, May 15th, 2022 at 3:05. It just turned to 3:05 p.m. So last week I didn't record a new podcast because I went to visit my mom on Mother's Day. And frankly, it was kind of nice to take a little break from the podcast. I did a lot of this past week, as I mentioned, it has been busy. Lots of personal growth and lots of development in another endeavor that I mentioned earlier, this web mini series. But what's this quote? I think it's from V.I. Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. I am the walrus. I am the walrus. Shut up, Donnie. V.I. Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. I believe he has a quote that's something like, there are decades in which nothing happens, and then weeks in which decades happen. Or is it years in which nothing happens and weeks in which years happen? Well, this past week has kind of felt like the latter. This past week for me has felt like a year has happened. So what's new? I've been mentioning it for some months here on this podcast. I've been making this mini web series. I finally figured out what to label it. It is a mini web series because it's on the web. Otherwise, it would just be a mini series. Or if it were on like a streaming platform, then it would be labeled as a limited series. Fuck that. It's a mini web series, and it is a comedy horror called After the Tone. It is about a man. It deals with topics of themes. The themes, it deals with themes of loneliness, loss, obsession, and clowns. So, quick synopsis, or an abstract rather. It is about a man named Tab U LaRasa. I don't even remember if I ever gave him a full middle name. I think it might be like Tab Ulysses LaRasa, but I made it a joke like tabula rasa, which is a philosophical concept that humans are born tabula rasa. We're born with a blank slate because whenever this was, like the 1700s or something, who was it? Fucking Kierkegaard or something? I don't know. I don't remember which old philosopher it was who thought of tabula rasa. But there was an argument at the time between, are humans born with innate knowledge when we learn things, are we born with innate knowledge, or are we born completely blank slate and then we learn things as we go along? Now, of course, this is before there was a really good understanding about genetics. And, the question is still sort of debated today. It's just, let's say, developed into some new terms, incorporating genetic science and human psychology. Are we, what affects a person more? And is it one or the other, or is it a mix of the two? Nature versus nurture. Nature would be the idea that we are born inherently with knowledge. Nurture is the idea that perhaps we are sort of born tabula rasa, blank slate. And that we learn things through nurture. Life and experience is imprinted upon us, and that shapes the person we are. Of course, it's a mix of the two. I talk about this. This is sort of like a refrain of mine that I often talk about on this show, that it's like, well, kind of, and I would not consider this double think. I would consider this a paradox. It's a paradoxical sort of a thing. It's both. Like, yes, we are born with innate, inherent things, and we inherit things, but at the same time, we are also at the same time shaped. And both of these things influence each other. Our genetics influence, our nature influences how we are imprinted upon and how we imprint upon nurture, and nurture, affects our nature. It's that kind of thing. It's a little bit of both. It's yin and yang. I had I have a friend whom I've not spoken to in some time. I ought to reach out to him. I think he has a master's in traditional Chinese medicine. Very skilled and knowledgeable man who does acupuncture and that sort of thing. TCM, not Turner Classic Movies, traditional Chinese medicine. He informed me that it's pronounced yang. So it's not yin and yang, it's yin and yang. Well, these things sort of influence each other. And where was I going with this? I'm trying to find a way to thread this back into After the Tone. Tabula rasa. I don't think there's any graceful way to transition back into the thing. So I'm just going to, let's just do a jump cut. Boom. Tabula rasa, abstract for After the Tone. Tabula rasa is a man who lost a past life, so to speak. He was living in another city, living another life, trying to make it as a romance novelist. And he gets in a very toxic romantic relationship that falls apart. The woman he was in a relationship with burned all of his belongings and kicked him out of the house because they were living together. So Tab moves back home to his hometown, home city, and is trying to pick his life back up together. And he's also trying to figure out, perhaps, is there a point in my life in which things went awry? Where did I go off track? And he decides that it went off track when a previous relationship that he was in a decade prior fell apart. And so now Tab is trying to reach out to this old fling. It's reach out to this old fling to rekindle some sort of relationship in hopes of rekindling some sort of happy life. But things do not work out the way Tab hopes they will. And it quickly devolves from a sort of a sad sack thing into a total psychological horror, into a absurd comedy. I will say Tab really makes a clown of himself. And I just, before recording this, about 30 minutes before I started setting up for this podcast, I just uploaded. Now it's currently unlisted. But I uploaded onto YouTube after finalizing finding and editing an edit that I like, the final part of After the Tone. So there are 9 parts, and it's done. Now, there is a bonus special something that I'm going to do, and I will tell you that basically I'm taking all 9 separate parts, and they're short parts. They're no more than 3 minutes. I think majority of them, let's say they're all about 2 minutes long. Each episode, each of the 9 parts are about 2 minutes long. I'm going to put them all together as a single, a whole thing, the complete package. And I'm also adding a special little something. I have a person, I'm not going to give away the secret, but someone very special is going to come around. There's going to be a sort of interview, commentary, insight that happens with someone I know. If you have ever been on that drug website, I forget, arrowid.org, I think it was. If you've ever spent time at arrowid.org, you may have seen the word swim when people are talking about their drug experiences on this forum. Swim means someone I know. Well, Swim is going to be on this bonus special something. Now, I still need to put all these episodes together, but I gotta say, dude, I am so relieved to have finally completed this After the Tone thing that I started in January, because I just wanted something new to do. The story is fictional, of course, but as with all, all art, there is an element of autobiography. Every artist does that. You can't help it. And there are no hard and fast rules in the act of art. However, when you make something, it's I personally believe, it is my conviction, that even if you are trying to make something intentionally that is not autobiographical in some faint shadow of a way, you can't help it, because you are the one creating this thing. Your DNA is in this thing that you created. So some vague shadow of this thing you made, of your creation, has you in it. You're there. So I decided to make this mini web series as just sort of an experiment, and sort of a test for myself, because for many years I've wanted to make some sort of show, sort of thing, on my own. And I've often, for a long time, I had ideas of like sort of a silent film kind of a thing. And ironical, because over this past week, I recorded the last 2 episodes, so parts 8 and 9 of After the Tone. I recorded this past week, and I did it. Actually, I think I recorded the last 3 parts, 7, 8, and 9, this past week, because I got a hold of some face paint and did my face up like a clown. That's not really giving anything away. And well, the first one I was just testing out with like the white base. And then on, I think it was Wednesday, was when I recorded the last 2 parts. I went full clown makeup and got some, clothing together, because I like to have fun clothes. I like to make life interesting, because it can be so fucking boring. I try to find ways to make life interesting. Well, while I was taking a break, I decided to do some sort of, just in case I wanted to, some referential pictures and videos in case I needed to do the clown makeup and outfit again. And I decided, why not do some like little promotional clips and a promotional video while I'm doing it. So I recorded this one where I was doing this fun little hat trick. And I hadn't practiced it, but I'd I've known this hat trick for several years. It's just something I inherently did, and I guess I'm inherently I have a talent for clowning. I've taken some workshops on it and voice and movement and stuff, but my entire life I've always had sort of a natural ability and proclivity to behave in sort of a clown, mimish fashion. It's a dance of sorts, if you will. Well, I recorded this little clip and I put it up on social media, and that was the main thing was like TikTok. I think it was my most relatively viral video. I made it black and white and put this video to some ragtime music and got a lot of great response. And I put it on my other social media accounts on other platforms, and I got a response that I really did not expect because usually I fly under the radar, like way under the radar. But this clip got a lot of response. I got the sweetest comment on the video. It's the same video, but I put it on Instagram. And an old grad school friend of mine, I guess, has a 6-year-old daughter, I believe it was. And this grad school friend commented saying, my 6-year-old has watched this video about 12 times. She says it is her favorite thing on the internet right now. And she wanted me to tell you that she has very strong arms if you need help putting on your hat. And that just touched me. That was so fucking sweet to hear that a friend's little kid enjoyed my clowning around video. And it's kind of creepy too, the video, because clowns can be kind of creepy. So that was really sweet, and I got a crazy good response. I had another old friend say, "You have found your medium," and then another online friend, sort of acquaintance, said, "You should consider just making a full silent film." And yet again, frankly, this is something I've been thinking about doing for several years now. I just didn't do it. And so come around to the beginning of this year, the beginning of 2022 in January, I had this idea for After the Tone. And that kind of came from an idea of a philosophy I've had for quite some time, which is if you're not finding work, make your own work. And after the better part, 10 months of dealing with my very sudden, very extreme life change, that is losing my home in Austin, losing the work I was getting there, which already had taken a hit because of the pandemic, which, by the way, is still fucking raging, and it's going to get pretty fucking bad again. I have a sneaking suspicion, as is the electrical system in Texas. ERCOT, or whatever it's called, is already, it's not ERCOT, whatever, the Texas system is going to fall apart this summer, yet again. Anyway, since I wasn't getting work anymore, I decided to make my own work and make my own thing, put my skills to use, follow my joy, and create this thing. So, by the time this episode is out, this podcast episode you're listening to and or watching, all 9 parts of After the Tone will be out. They're on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist of each part, and do look forward to the special bonus something that should be coming out as soon as I make it. It won't be super long, just because I'm having a lot of fun making this. Now, I do have to grapple with chasing results because I would love for some, someone with some sway in the entertainment industry to see this and say, I like this guy. I want to give him work. I want to work with him. I think that would be fantastic. And I'm trying to not think that way. I'm doing my best to just make this for myself because I enjoy it and because it's fun. And I find it very funny, the whole thing. And frankly, I think that's all I've got to say for today for the free episode. As I mentioned, this is going to be a shorter one. And of course, yeah, it's a whole fucking promo for this web series I made. And you know what? Fuck it. I worked hard on this thing and I want as many people to see it as possible. So if you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. Just look for That Thing with James. And I mentioned that I had a lot of personal growth over this past week, and there are some salacious details that I had to share, and I'm going to share that behind the paywall. So if you want to hear about a fun, let's call it a trip that I went on recently, wink, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/thatthingwithjames. Go and check out this hat trick clown silent film thing I made. It's on my social media. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. My handle on all three is at James J. Asher. Go ahead and shitpost on my subreddit r/thatthingwithjames and help me harvest content for this podcast. Email me your stuff at thatthingwithjames@gmail.com. It's kind of nice to get back into the podcast thing, especially after getting a little break, because this is a one-man show and it gets a little old sometimes, a little stale. I have my reasons for many different ways and things. Yes. Well, I love you, and I hope things are going well for you. I hope the weather has warmed up, and but not oppressively so. And I hope you're having a good time, a good life. Yeah, go become a patron. I'll catch you next time. Bye.